Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. Tonight, I'm excited for tonight because we have a friend of the show, Manny from Area 503. He has been a panel member here a few times and talked about how he was developing a documentary all about Lue Elizondo, uh, so-called disclosure advocate. And like many people, I have an incredible amount of questions about Lue Elizondo, questions that I would have loved to ask him in an interview, but despite Mr. Elizondo claiming that he will go on anyone's show after repeated attempts to get him to do an interview here, we never got a reply. Now, Mr. Elizondo has been on tiny podcasts and channels, so I'm not quite sure why he has so far not accepted our invitation. I have asked some questions to him while he was on another show, and that didn't go too well. Others within the so-called UFO community have a lot of questions for Mr. Lue Elizondo as well. I began to plan doing some sort of deep dive into Mr. Elizondo's history, the statements that he has made, maybe his work history, his military history, but I found the task to be overwhelming. There's so much information, it's almost information overload to be able to do a really thorough job at answering a singular question, which I think is very important. And that is, who's Lue? Who is this man that came virtually out of nowhere and became a media star? He's been on Fox News and CNN and all of these other programs, and as now starting to appear at conferences. He's got a book deal. He was on a History Channel show, of course. I still have a lot of questions. And I was thankful to find that somebody else was working very diligently to answer a lot of my questions. Just so happens to be a fortunate event that I met this person, Manny from Area 503. He and I started talking about some of his revelations and some of the things that he was finding out in researching this documentary, Who's Lue? And I'm happy to say that we have an exclusive sneak peek. We're the first ones. And I want to thank Manny from Area 503 for letting us do this. We are going to be the first people who get to share a portion of the new film. So get yourself a cold beverage, relax. We've got a sort of 10 or 12 minute preview. And rather than try to talk over it or anything like that, I think that this work is important enough and that people are interested enough in Lue Elizondo and this new upcoming documentary, Who's Lue, that we're just going to give you the promo for it, the preview that Manny has provided. So we're going to cite fair use. This is a transformative work. And we are educating the public about this new, one second, let me do that one more time, about this new documentary from Manny in Area 503. Okay, we got it now. All right, friends. So, one second. All right, so I'm told that the actual documentary is several hours long, but we're fortunate to get a 10 or 12 minute, it looks like 12-minute preview of the documentary so that you can get some sense of what questions will be asked and maybe what answers we will get from this exciting new documentary. I, for one, cannot wait for this. I've been waiting for a while, hearing various bits and pieces of what Manny has been working on, but I'm very excited that we could share with you this Truth Seekers first look at the film, Who's Lue?
We have tackled many strange stories on 60 Minutes, but perhaps none like this.
Here to discuss, Lue Elizondo, former director of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program.
UFOs have captivated the public interest for decades, but they've always been dismissed, including by me, as the province of wackos.
Lue Elizondo is a former military intelligence official and currently works with the Stars Academy and the History Channel, and he joins us now.
My name is Lue Elizondo. For nearly the last decade, I ran a sensitive aerospace threat identification program. It was in this position I learned that the phenomena is indeed real.
Has somehow managed to leapfrog
And now, as a
us,
member of
or
to the
in
Stars
something
Academy,
completely
None of them
new.
have
bring our
obvious
And I think it's
explanations. These
important.
are aircraft, apparently, that are moving in ways that appear to violate physics, that are flying very differently from any aircraft ever
That
observed,
demonstrates
and
that the U.S.
way
government has
faster than
actually
any
indeed been
plane
dealing with this
we know
issue for
in
over
our
70
country.
years.
What is this?
And that's a little
Well,
bit
we don't know.
problematic,
For some
because if we
reason,
say this is foreign adversarial technology, we know that the Russians
On October 14th, 2017, Lue Daniel Elizondo IV stepped on stage in Seattle, Washington, announcing to the world that the UFO phenomenon was real.
it was in this position I learned that the phenomena is indeed real.
Lue would instantly rise to the top of the UFO subculture, being backed by a global media campaign labeling him as a Pentagon UFO whistleblower. Previous to this day, no one outside of the military intelligence community, a few politicians, and a close-knit circle of defense industry contractors had ever heard of the name Lue Elizondo. Very little is known about Mr. Elizondo beyond the biography that is listed on his website at luiselizondoofficial.com. There remain to this day some very serious and alarming unanswered questions about Lue, his background, and his claims. Every piece of evidence obtained in the making of this documentary was located during a thorough search of public records available on the internet. While such information is considered public, I have gone to great lengths to protect the privacy of every individual mentioned in this piece, while only including information that is entirely relevant in an attempt to answer the question of, who's Lue?
Hello, I'm Tom DeLong, and thanks for joining us live today. So I want you to all meet Lue Elizondo.
Well, thanks, Tom, for that very special introduction. My name is Lue Elizondo, and as a career intelligence officer, I am accustomed to being involved in close-hold, nuanced programs involving national security. This includes being a counterintelligence special agent, a case officer, and an intelligence practitioner. However, by far the most interesting effort I was involved with was the topic of advanced aerial threats. For nearly the last decade, I ran a sensitive aerospace threat identification program focusing on unidentified aerial technologies. It was in this position I learned that the phenomena is indeed real.
Navigating to Luiselizondoofficial.com. Lue Elizondo, former senior intelligence official, disclosure advocate, national security expert, former director of the Pentagon's UFO UAP program, ATIP. In 3 years, we have achieved the unimaginable together, and this is just the beginning. My mission is to challenge the status quo of the past 75 years of UFO UAP secrecy and champion its disclosure in a meaningful way that ultimately leads to a better, more comprehensive understanding of this great enigma. My approach is a deliberate and calculated effort to challenge current mindsets and policies in order to enable collaboration across all governments, people, institutions, academia, and scientific communities.
Lue plainly states that his mission is to challenge the status quo of the past 75 years of UFO and UAP secrecy. And he states, quote, "In 3 years we have achieved the unimaginable together, and this is just the beginning," end quote. However, it is unclear what, if anything, Lue has actually achieved on the topic of disclosure. Some people credit Lue with the supposed recent involvement of Congress in the UFO and UAP phenomenon.
In June, the United States government is set to release a public report on everything it knows about UFOs.
Others counter that Congress has been interested in the phenomenon for a very long time, resulting in such programs as ATIP and its predecessor, OSAP, in the first place, going all the way back to Project Blue Book, Sign, and Grudge in the 1940s. Some people have speculated that the mainstream media attention brought to the subject of ufology by Mr. Elizondo is a benefit for UFO disclosure, while others feel that the one-sided media attention is a detriment and is suspect, as no one truly knows who paid for it. Some people believe that Lue is truly a champion for UFO disclosure, while others believe that his actions benefit only himself and the defense industry, which stands to profit out of a partial disclosure of weapons technology. And so I must ask this question: what exactly has Lue Elizondo contributed to the disclosure process, and whose interest is he truly representing? These will be the first of many unanswered questions and contradictions that arise when we look at the public image and statements made by Mr. Elizondo and then compare them to the evidence and facts, and then we ask the question of, who's Lue?
Career Intelligence Officer with the United States Army, the United States Department of Defense, the United States Office of National Counterintelligence Executive, the United States Office of the Director of National Intelligence.
From the images and statements on the Lue Elizondo official webpage, you get an idea of how Lue portrays himself to the world. His image is one of a stoic soldier that has an impressive list of credentials, including the title of Director of the Pentagon's UFO and UAP program called ATIP, or the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. But before we get into all that, let's start at the beginning. Let's go back to Lue's childhood.
I'm the son of a Cuban immigrant father who was a dissident of the Castro regimen. My father spent time as a political prisoner for his involvement in the Bay of Pigs. I grew up in South Florida, and as a young man, I was often exposed to my father's efforts in helping change the political situation in Cuba.
Who's Lue? Just like in his early years, there is significantly more to the story of Lue in college and his years leading into the Army than the official webpage suggests.
This could be the most consequential thing to happen to this country, to this world, maybe ever.
In February of 2001, Lue filed for the right to claim a patent for his first invention. And I have to admit that when I discovered that Lue was an inventor, I was very curious to see what sort of an invention that a guy with a double degree in microbiology and immunology and a minor in chemistry, plus a few years of military experience, could come up with. However, just like in the case of Lue's previous Army experience, the only verifiable information that I could find about his career up to this point was his own statement on his official webpage and the single accompanying photo that Lue had titled Korea 1. There is zero verifiable evidence to support Lue's statement here beyond his own words and a photo that he has provided. Just like every other portrayal of Lue's life, the source is Lue Elizondo himself. So here we have yet another unanswered question. Is this all true, or is it simply an embellished war story? If you Google the term ATIP, you will see that there are thousands of news articles about the program. The first piece that we have are the leaked ATIP slides that were located on Christopher Mellon's official website. October 4th, 2017. Lue Elizondo tendered his resignation from the Department of Defense. Lue cited a myriad of vague, unsubstantiated allegations at the Pentagon as the cause and then quit. Who's Lue? This documentary was an investigation into the public records of a public figure. Any inclusion of personal information was to illustrate the contradictory nature of Mr. Elizondo's public words and the public records, and solely for that purpose. All of the information contained in this documentary was found in the public record. The information contained in this film is for educational purposes only. Who's Lue?
Sorry, there we have it, friends. An exclusive first peek at the new documentary film by Manny from Area 503 titled Who's Lue? And I got to tell you, I am already interested in seeing the entire thing. And I can't wait to see what other little bits of information this film is going to include. I know that the filmmaker has been hard at work on this thing for quite some time, trying to find every bit of information that he could to answer the question, who's Lue? And in another Truth Seekers exclusive, we have the filmmaker himself here, Manny from Area 503. Welcome, Manny.
Hello out there, everybody.
I want to thank you for giving us the first crack at this to see a good chunk of this, because you ask a lot of interesting questions in this, and there's a lot of things that just don't make sense about this man, in my view.
Yeah, you know, one of the quotes that I used in the promo there, you'll hear in the movie, is that there's unanswered questions and contradictions around Lue. And that's really what it comes down to is, when are we ever going to get an answer to these questions? And how long can we wait before we say they're never going to come, and we just move on and say the guy's just not going to explain himself. He's just going to do what he wants to do. And, you know, you can either, as he puts it, get on board the train or get off. But
yeah, and I find it interesting that there's this sort of, I guess, you know, like he's very up on doing interviews for very friendly people that are sort of fans. Do you know what I mean? And it seems like I have yet to see one hardball interview of him in years now. Like, I, for one, would like to know why nobody asks him where the TTSA money went and his involvement with them. They promised us a spaceship. He was in that organization when they promised investors a spaceship. We haven't seen a spaceship. Nobody knows. $34 million pretty much vanished, right? I don't know. Why is it, do you think, that it just seems that this is like a carefully crafted media narrative, right?
That's kind of my feeling, and that's what it feels like. You know, when you have a one-sided narrative, and you know, it's just shoved down your throat everywhere you look. It kind of it overwhelms any contradictory statements from people or questions. When people say, hey, you know, what's going on here? It overwhelms you, you know, because for every guy like me who's going to question his story, there's 1,000 people out there who will just accept it and repeat it and retweet it and, you know, go on and have the guy on his lives on their streams and let him say whatever he wants. But I have yet to really see anybody hold him to task as far as having him prove anything. You know, he hasn't shown his DD, you know, 214. I saw somebody in the chat had asked about that. So far as I know, other people, including myself, have filed for it and just not received them. But that was something I wanted to get for this film. Unfortunately, the office that processes those forms was at a marginal amount of capacity because of the recent pandemic and whatnot. So they were only processing emergency requests, which I understand. So at some point I'll get it, maybe, or they'll tell me they won't give it to me. But I'll get an answer.
I
maybe
think near as I can tell, that I think that you have to be a family member to get the DD-214. I don't think that the DD-214s are public.
I don't know. I filed for 2 different versions on the website, and I told them I was an investigator and that it was a public information request. So, we'll see what they do.
We'll see what happens. Let me know. Let me know if you ever come back with an answer, because if it was just possible to file some forms and get his DD-214, I would hope that somebody already did that. But
I think people have maybe tried. I filed for a excuse me, there's a censored version that you can get, a redacted version, and then the full version. So we'll see if they give me one or the other, but it might come out someday. A lot of stuff has come out, like John Greenwald at the Black Vault has a lot of documents about Lue that people don't really know about, or they don't really understand what they mean, and
it is a little confusing.
Oh, it's extremely confusing. Yeah. I mean, especially like if you separate the question of ATIP from who's Lue completely, which I tried to do in this film. And I have to talk about ATIP a little bit, but that literally could be its own documentary on its own. It doesn't, that whole issue is just so clouded with lies and misinformation and partial truths and just everything. So it's hard to really
I can't understand why we can't get a straight answer. It's like, I ran the program. The Pentagon says, no, you didn't. I was in the program. The Pentagon says, no, you weren't, or you had no responsibility. Then they said, yes, you did. And then we have this book with George Knapp, and we find out that the ATIP program that he claimed was funded to the tune of 20-something million had no funding. And that was another program that really got that funding. And it's like never a straight answer. We get this circle of like obfuscation. It seems like, and like you said, misinformation, disinformation. It's like they're trying on purpose to cloud the waters, to muddy the waters somehow.
They are. And meanwhile,
I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Andy Kurtz, for a kind and generous $4.99 super chat. Love, Stephen, and Truth Seekers family. Thank you, Andy Kurtz, for your generosity and your support. We appreciate that. We're a viewer-supported show. So how long is the finished documentary? You're still tweaking the final for. I know that, but
yeah, I've requested to, like you said, I requested that Lue would be interviewed for this because there's a lot of information in here that I would honestly prefer to leave out of the documentary. If he can exclude himself from it or say, yeah, that isn't me, or no, that's not right, or whatever, I would love to give him that chance, because I don't want to put this out. If there's information in there that's going to make the dang guy, like personal information that's going to make him look bad or embarrass him. That's not what this is about. But this is about proving, as I said in the promo, the contradictory nature between what he says and what the records show, and so we really in this are just looking at the records. We're isolating the stories because those are just stories, and we're looking at the facts, so yeah, that's where I go here. But everywhere you turn, you find contradictions, like you said, and it's not just ATIP. It's like that with Lue in his life too. You find contradictions. You read the webpage, and it reads like a book or a novel or a super soldier spy film or something. But when you start diving into it, you see a life of, ordinary life. The guy's just a dude. I took him down off the pedestal by researching him. He used to be this mythical guy, Lue Elizondo, and he's not anymore. He's now Luis Daniel Elizondo IV, and he's a man who can't be trusted because he will say whatever he wants to get what he wants. That's my opinion at the end of the day of looking at all of the evidence, So
I've been fascinated with his ability to make claims and then scurry away when people ask for proof of the claims that he makes. So far we've got him saying that there was crash retrievals and they have, portions of crash retrievals, and even up to saying that they have biological samples. But again, when pressed for proof, he doesn't have any proof of any of the stuff that he's claiming. I guess we're supposed to just believe based on his his own claims or his reported history running these programs, and I don't buy it if you don't have some kind of backup for the claims as well.
Yeah.
And also,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
He rubber stamped the approval, right, of getting some of these videos out of the Pentagon, and then he profited from those videos for the next bunch of years. So that's problematic for me. And I want to thank Lee Guy for kind of generous $4.99 saying Lou Kardashian. Yeah, it becomes like a soap opera for some, doesn't it, Manny? Like it's like a soap opera. Like what did Lou say this week? And people follow him from appearance to appearance and talk about him on Twitter. And some people believe that he's like the disclosure savior. He's going to bring us the truth about aliens. And I'm still suspect, especially because in the UFO world, it has been accepted mythology or belief or whatever that the government has been lying to us for 70 years. And now we're supposed to believe that some guy that worked at the Pentagon quit in a huff, and he's going to come and give us the truth about the aliens and the UFOs. And
okay,
I'm not convinced, right?
There's a few questions people are going to have about that story, and his tendency to just ignore those questions and roll on with his narrative, which is what he does, is catching up to him, because he's just kicked the can so far down the road with all of these questions that they're all piling up now, and people are saying, what's going on, man? You have to slow your roll down a little bit. We've all heard the UFO stories. What possibly new could that guy say that he hasn't said over the last 4 years? Unless something new becomes unclassified that he can speak about, he's really come to the end of the road. And so if you look at his recent appearances, he's talking about things like Einstein's theory of relativity, and he's talking about things like higher psychic vibrations and things that the guy has no clue what he's talking about. He just, read a book.
There's new promises. There's new promises too that, he's going to have this book and it's going to have never before heard revelations in it. It's going to have a bombshell in it. And, and again, I'm setting up myself I'll buy the book. But
I'm sure it will.
Set myself up for a nothing burger. Because you're right, he's had 4 years. Why would he wait? What was he waiting for a book deal? To tell us
no, I mean, if you want a Whopper, go buy a book by Dean Koontz or Stephen King. If you want to, the guy's not creative and he's not going to come up with some cool story. It'll be some BS. It'll read like The Day After Roswell, like by Colonel Corso. It'll be every UFO rumor that he ever heard in the military, but he was there. And that's just what the guy does, man. He puts himself in the middle of it all because of, I don't know, ego. I don't know. I mean, why would a career intelligence officer quit the Pentagon and throw his pension away 3 years before he could retire and then go with TTSA? He's probably going to make more money. He's definitely got more fame now. He's not just going to retire into obscurity and be some intelligence guy who hangs around Langley and talks with people. And, although that, nothing wrong with that. That sounds like a cool life to me, man. I'd like to hang around Langley and talk to people. Yeah, hang out at the water cooler and listen to all the BS and the rumors, man. Are you freaking kidding me? But, I think he really didn't want to just disappear into obscurity, so he made his play, but there's some very, very serious evidence that shows he had been planning to do this for a long time. And so when he sits there and says, I never heard of Tom DeLonge before I left the Pentagon. I was never a part of anything before that. I would go so far as to say that those are lies. There's enough evidence that he needs to provide some counter evidence to show that what he says is true, because there's enough evidence that shows that that statement isn't true and that he had been planning his move from the Department of Defense to the TTSA for a very long time.
He quit and he was on TTSA like the very next week, right?
7 days. 7 days after he tendered his resignation was the press conference, which the day when they first came out, I thought was suspect. I was like, how did they put this together in 7 days? Man, a full-on press conference? Like, that's a lot of production work to put together.
That's another thing, though. It wasn't a true press conference because I don't believe there was any press there. It was just a media. It was them making a video and putting it on YouTube. So that's partially, and that's the press conference where they promised everybody a spaceship, Manny. I want to ride on the spaceship with Lue Elizondo and Tom DeLonge, but nobody's allowed to play Tom DeLonge music on our ride. You know?
Oh, you don't want to jam the angels and airwaves on there? I mean,
no, and that's another suspect part of this whole thing. It's like people
I
with
talk about all that in
TTSA
the
and this
in the movie. I
TTSA thing was
definitely touch on this.
crazy because people are like, "Well, Tom DeLonge doesn't need the money." Yeah, he did, and yes, he does apparently. And the whole I tried to follow the money, right? I tried to read these financial reports that they were filing, and it's a maze of like mirrors, and nothing makes any sense. Like how much money's coming in, what's going out, like where is all this investor money being spent? And Lue never answers any questions about that, and he quit TTSA, and I guess he feels like, well, now I don't have to answer for anything TTSA did or said. And it's like a
Since
reboot
he quit,
for him.
He refers everything to any TTSA question he gets. He refers back to them, which is kind of interesting because, like you said, they promised us not only a spaceship, they promised us the TTSA would also have an entertainment division, which it now does in the form of Angels versus Airwaves. But there's some really interesting points about Angels versus Airwaves, TTSA, and all that. I cover a little bit of it in the movie, but I don't talk.
So they're collecting. So they collected investor money so that Tom DeLonge could pay his band. Like this doesn't make sense.
I don't know if that's why they did it, but that's what he did with it. I mean,
that's what he did with some of it. He's paying. Listen, I was a rock guy, and I was in rock bands for 20 years. Let me tell you something. Touring even is expensive. It's expensive. Hotel rooms and
I imagine
meals for everybody. It's expensive as shit. This is my personal opinion. I don't think that Tom DeLonge is selling enough records to cover his own nut with his band Angels and Airwaves. Now that's my opinion, but I do have 20 years in that world. So I think I have an informed, bit of knowledge on how this works. And it's even worse now because there's very little money now. There's no money for records. All the money now is only in the fee you get for performing. There's almost no money in selling records anymore. So I don't think that he's covering his nut with that band. I think that he's subsidizing it with some of this TTSA investor money.
He definitely is.
Crazy.
He definitely is. That's on the public record in those public filings that you talked about. I went through those as well.
From what I read, I
spent a good, week on the corporation wikis, going through different things and tracking down how the thing was set up. And actually, way back when TTS started, there's a YouTube channel called UFO Seekers that did a expose on the finances. He destroyed them. He showed them that what Tom DeLonge had done was balled up about, I think it was $240,000 of his own personal debt, dumped that into TTSA, and then gone public, so that the company started in the hole with this personal debt. But since then, I've realized he's done far more things with that business to leverage everything in his favor. And I want to be careful how I say this, because I'm not trying to misrepresent what happened in these papers. But if you look at the public statements, it does show that basically he loaned personal money from Tom DeLonge to the company under I'm not sure if shell company is the right way of putting it, but it is. It's a company that he owns, that he loaned to another company money that he owns, and secured that loan with all of the TTSA intellectual property, which includes Angels versus Airwaves. So if the whole thing goes, bang my mic there. If the whole thing goes belly
up, that's
why
I said it gets confusing, because it's like
he owns all that
from this company gives money to this company, and this company is loaning money to this company, and it becomes somehow mixed in.
There's some tools out there you can use to help visualize it. The corporation wiki is the best because it'll show you the corporations with the different links. And it works best with small, people who only have a few businesses. If you go in there and put in Lockheed Martin, it'll like crash your computer because there's so many, subsidiaries and owned companies and whatever. But, On the Rise says something about that. TTSA has been quiet. I imagine we'll never hear anything from TTSA again, other than Angels versus Airwaves, and they'll probably ride that as far as they can go.
Or there might be. I think there might be a couple of new books, or maybe another documentary.
Oh yeah, sure. There could be something like that, but we're not going to see anything like from Lue for certain. He has no reason to give them anything, and I question whether he has anything to give them or could get anything to give them. I'm not sure what sort of contacts he might still have inside the Pentagon, but I'm guessing after all of the theatrics over the last few years, and with the 180-day report, all the pressure he put on him, they're probably not too happy with him. So I doubt he's got anything more, and that's kind of why he shifted his role from a like a celebrity influencer into more of a lobbyist. And so you'll see him now, oh, we're going to pressure Congress into all this. Well, I'm not impressed, because the same people that they're pressuring in Congress are, I hate to say it, but all these junior people who are just getting in that are like, oh, I'm happy to get put on this committee, like, woo, like, give me a break, man. Like, it's so transparent.
Well, and the other thing is this,
the
other thing is this effort, like, oh, call your congressman, call your senator.
Well, that's what I mean.
Like, they give a shit.
Cool.
They give a shit about this subject. They don't care. Most of them. They have, unless you're a lobbyist with a big fat bankroll that will get that senator or that congressman's attention, they don't care what you're calling them about. They don't care.
No, you're lucky if you get like a form letter response, like an automated response or anything. Every time I've ever written into a senator about anything, I've just been ignored. So, and I wrote in about Lue Elizondo to Ron Wyden here in Oregon, who's a senator who's on the Senate Intelligence Committee. And I said, Ron, what the hell is going on with this guy? Who is he? Is he legit? Is he crickets, man? He didn't want to say anything, so. But he did have me do his mailing list. Thanks.
Yeah. So, donate to my campaign, right? You start getting those emails, right?
Right. I'm like, well, do something for me. Maybe I will, but I think you're right. So, there's a lot of money, and there's a lot of money in this,
Besides the TTSA, his time at TTSA, there's also this sort of media blitz that he almost went on after leaving TTSA. Became suddenly a lot more accessible, but again, only to very friendly interviewers, I would say.
Yeah, he would pre-screen just like he does now. If you reach out to him, he'll ignore you. He'll go out and look at your work. If you're friendly on him, then he'll contact you back. If you're not, if you're questioning in any way, you get nothing. He just ignores you, and it's just,
that's what
honestly, it's childish, and it's rude, and it shows how he wants to pretend like he's someone that he's not, like he's some big celebutant, like he's some big, like there was somebody in the chat who was like, Elizondo 2024, like, give me a break. This guy's a poser, man. I'm sorry. In his own words, he is, and I'll prove that in the film. Watch my movie. You'll hear how in his own words he admits to you all that he's full of crap. But whatever, people will still believe him either. Like you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink. So here's the proof in this. And the reason I did this was because, I would question Lue on social media, and some of his more, how do you call this? Like devout followers will just not listen to reason. And I got tired of repeating myself to these people. So now I could just point myself at this film and say, there's the evidence, go look at it. And if you have some piece of evidence to counter what I've displayed, I'd love to talk to you about it. Other than that, what more?
Somebody's mentioning Lue attacking you with a sock account. That's another thing that I found extremely suspect, is that the man has gotten, for sure, a few verifiable sock accounts, didn't he? I think he posted something.
Man. He's such an actor.
But he posted something on one of the sock accounts. I think it was the one that he used the most by accident as Lue. So we know that, that he's using sock accounts.
I didn't know that.
The sock accounts will come and defend Lue Elizondo, but we know in at least one case that it's him.
But all these posts are all I'm a nice guy.
Yeah, defending himself on Twitter,
Oh,
and
wow.
that kind of games. It's like, what are we, 12 here? Like, I don't understand those kind of games.
That's interesting. That's the thing.
The other thing is the troll accounts. We talked about this. If you say something questioning, or God forbid, even outright derogatory towards Lue on Twitter, all of these brand new accounts on Twitter, they just joined last month, will all start arguing with you about what a great guy he is and how much he's done for disclosure, and you don't know what you're talking about. And I just find it suspect that there's an army of, nameless, faceless, brand new Twitter accounts that will defend him to the death. It's weird. It's strange.
Yeah.
It feels like a psyop to me, but
Or just marketing. I mean, anyone can pay for that kind of support. If you want to drop $2,000 or $3,000 on some Twitter bots, I mean, you can Google it right now and find it. Anyone can do that. And the type of money that this guy's got behind him, he can. Like he's clearly got money behind him, or he wouldn't be in all of the news outlets that he is. He wouldn't have the sway that he has. You don't have to look too far to see who it is. I mean, it's right now it's Christopher Mellon. Those two guys are just like fused at the hip. They're not going anywhere, because as soon as Lue and Elizondo or Lue and Mellon part ways, Lue no longer has the protection of Mellon for all of the sketchy things that he'd done that may be considered illegal in a new prosecutor's eyes. You know what I mean? Like there could be some real serious repercussions for him. If he conspired to declassify footage so that somebody else could steal it from the Pentagon, that sounds to me like a federal or a military crime, if not a federal one. It's definitely
I've always had a problem. I've always had a problem with the fact that he was in charge of something, and apparently he could rubber stamp the release of these videos, and then he gets a television deal based on the fact that he released those videos from the Pentagon. Then he gets a book deal. He gets a job at TTSA based on, what gave him the authority to release these 3 videos? Not that they shouldn't have been. I don't think they're that spectacular, but
they're not.
Gave him the authority to release those videos and then go profit from them for the next 3 or 4 years?
I do raise that question in the film for sure, and I show some other. I dive into that detail with more enthusiasm. I go into it pretty hard because that needs to be discussed, because it is important. How he left the Pentagon, when he left the Pentagon, and what he was doing for the year before that is very important, because according to him, he left the Pentagon. He had filed to get those videos declassified and then left the Pentagon completely independent of each other. It had nothing to do with anything else. And then somebody else gave those videos and leaked them. He had nothing to do with that. But they couldn't have got them if they weren't declassified. But then he's gone on and said contradictory things too. He's also said, no, they weren't leaked. They were released in the proper form. The DOD gave us a proper authority to do this. But the Pentagon has clearly stated that's not true. It would never be true, because people like TTSA that are called industry partners are never allowed to release statements or information on behalf of the government. Only an official U.S. government office can do that. End of story. So his claims have been refuted, but it's just a matter of what people want to believe. I mean, do they want to continue to follow the Pied Piper off the pier, who's just going to bolt when he gets what he wants? Maybe not. Maybe he feels
this is the problem. This is the problem that I have is we've only been talking for a very short time, but we've already brought up all of these issues and problems that nobody wants to talk about. And by the way, I'm glad that you could come here. And I'm a villain to some people, because we're here having a discussion about these things, and it's an open discussion. It's an honest discussion. It feels like Lue and Lue supporters don't want to do that. They don't want to answer these questions. They don't want to have these things addressed so we could all move forward. It's just you're the bad guy if you bring this up. So I have a feeling that you're going to be a new villain here, Manny, because from what I've seen and heard, I don't think that your film is going to cast him in a very nice light. And I think it's going to force him maybe to answer hard questions. But I love that about you, because that's what real investigative journalism is. You force people to have to answer for whatever,
Yeah, Lue has said that he's no stranger to criticism, and he has nothing to hide and nothing to fear from the truth. So let's talk about some truth. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to hear stories about him saving a unit in Afghanistan with his psychic, remote viewing powers. I don't want to hear other war stories about, events and aircrafts and things that just don't. I'm not interested in that. I'll go by the day after Roswell if I want to hear that kind of stuff, and it's far more entertaining, it's far more articulate, and it's far more well written than anything that Lue comes up with. He's not creative. He's not creative at all.
I'm amazed at his ability to say nothing in a 2-hour interview, or almost nothing, or just repeat things that he's already said in yet another 2-hour video, which I did a little bit of an analysis of some of, let's say, his riffs, like the stories that he tells. And it appears to me that he's very scripted, going on these shows and repeating some of the same sort of stories, almost word for word in some cases. It's eerie. And that made me believe that this might be some sort of psyop, or he might be involved in some kind of disinformation campaign. That's another rumor. People say, well, first of all, he is an admitted counterintelligence officer, which, so he's trained in counterintelligence, and suddenly he shows up telling us all these stories. Can't verify a lot of things. The waters are all muddied and unclear. Can't answer hard questions, and it just seems like it just is snowballing, right? But to what? What's his goal here? The end game just making money? Or is it?
In my opinion, yeah, it's all about money. It's all about money. It seems like, and somebody said something in the chat earlier about how he's Bigelow's man. And that's really my kind of final conclusion at the end of the day, is that he's currently working for Bigelow to try to get technology declassified so that Bigelow can use it, because Bigelow's upset that Lockheed, Boeing, Northrop, these guys have had it for all these many years and he doesn't get it. You know what I'm saying? And that's just my gut based upon everything that I've looked at. However, and I'll mention this a lot in the film, the name of the Lockheed Martin Corporation comes up significantly in the history of Lue, going back to 2001, I believe.
Maybe that's why people call him Lockheed Lue, right?
Well, yeah. And the reason that I think I can't prove that he ever got any kind of money or has any direct connection to Lockheed Martin. It almost feels like he was attempting to do things to dangle pieces in front of them, like his patents, his nautical patents. You look at these patents and you're like, who would use these but a Lockheed Martin Corporation or a big boat building corporation or whatever. And so I feel like he was trying to put a carrot in front of them, hoping they'd bite, but I don't think they did. I think he got jaded, man. And when he got close to retiring into obscurity, like I said, with a military pension at whatever rank he was at when he was, he was only 3 years away from retiring when he pulled this stunt. And I don't think it's, a coincidence, all the other moves that were in play at the same time. There was, some very important
so just to be clear,
things like that he got let out of, and geopolitical Go ahead, sorry.
Just to be clear, because I'm a little unclear on this. If he resigned 3 years before hitting his pension, does that mean he doesn't get a pension then?
I believe he'd still get a partial pension. I don't think he might have to wait till those 3 years are up and then get a partial pension.
Maybe he was
I don't
3 years
for all of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe 25 years is
all of it.
Right. So he quit at 23 years and or 22 years, I believe, and could have retired, at 25. But again, I think it was more, it's interesting. I think it was more about the, retire into obscurity and go fishing and ride my ATVs all day, or become a, UFO Lue Elizondo. And so now he just rather do that. But, when you really look at it, none of it holds up. I mean, none of it. There's nothing that he says that holds up, because the source, like I said in the promo, is always Lue himself. And it comes back to him and his word. So if you trust Lue at his word, cool. But somebody who I've caught in, 3 hours worth of lies, pretty much, I have a hard time taking at their word unless they build trust back up. Like when somebody lies to you, it takes a while till you trust them again, right? Like, isn't that how it goes? But
yeah.
Lue doesn't care what I think.
Some people have suggested to me, some people have suggested to me, like, well, why would he do that? Why would he quit a good government job to make money? There's not that much money to, he can't make that much money doing this. And I'm like, you go talk to like the people who run Contact in the Desert and find out what some of the people get to go to a conference and talk for 2 hours. Some of those people get $15,000 for one conference appearance. One.
Maybe it doesn't need to be a lot of money. Maybe it could be just enough so that he doesn't have to go get a job at a supermarket like he likes to throw around when the government threatens his security clearance. He's like, I'm gonna have to go work at a supermarket just to pay my bills. Yeah.
Is there any proof that the government threatened his security clearance, or is it, or again, are we just taking his word for it?
It's his words, just like everything else. Yeah.
We didn't see like a letter threatening him from the government to shut up, or
no.
And that could be
on
part
TMZ,
of the
he said
too,
Yeah, on TMZ, he said it was an old commander of his or something that had called him up and said, "Hey, we need to talk about this. This is crazy. What are you doing? Come talk to me, or it'll threaten your security clearance." And then, but this is, Lou doesn't ever just say the sky is blue. He'll be like, "I went outside today and it was a meanderish sort of a bluish, greenish, orangish, purplish water that fell on my face." And you're like, "Lou, the sky's blue. Just say it." But he doesn't. He just never. Anyways, you know how he talks. Yeah.
Do you think that the tides? Some people have suggested that the tides for him are turning, and that a lot less people are going to just, even UFO believers, are going to just be on his side and believe him, because more and more things are not adding up with him.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think that it's going to be harder for him going forward, or is he just going to keep rolling on with?
I would encourage those people to go out and do their own independent research. If you really care, then go and do your own independent research, and figure it out for yourself. The reason I put the video together the way that I did was so that people could see the research that I have done, because I do care enough to figure this stuff out. I do care about it. And I want to be educated when I speak. And I want to make sure that if I say something about the guy, that it's true to the best of my research and knowledge, which is substantial. I've done the legwork and I stand behind everything that I've said. And if people want to argue with me, that's fine. But I'd like some proof, not arguments and opinions. You might not. I want some proof. Show me something I haven't seen.
Some people are big on that. And, I have a little bit of a pet peeve lately. A new pet peeve is we had this, let's just call it a disagreement with another show host. And they said, you can't do this. And then we provided screenshots of people doing that thing. Films. We've got videos of people doing exactly what they said nobody could do except the government. Then we got 2 on the record Google employees to say that we were right and they were wrong about what the disagreement is about. But they're still going to argue with me, and they have nothing but opinion. They have no evidence to counter our evidence. So I'm with you, Manny. At some point you say, here's my evidence. Where's yours to counter this? Prove me wrong with more than words. And most people won't do that. And that's unfortunate,
Yeah, then we just write them off, and I hate to say that, because, a lot of people I want to reach are these hardcore Lou followers. I want to tell them, like, hey guys, you're being manipulated. You're being led astray. You're being used. You're being used by a guy so that he can get some money, or so that he doesn't have to get a job at a supermarket or whatever. I don't know what his intentions are. I used to have a mind reading cap, but I sold it for a beer, a long time ago. So we'll never know, like the guy won't.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to make sure that I express to you is that I have tremendous respect that you just said, I'm going to put it all into film. I don't want to argue with people on Twitter anymore. I'm going to have one link with 3 hours of evidence, and you come back to me. That's a great idea, first of all. Yeah. And it's also inspiring to me, because I would sure like to get into making documentaries. Always wanted to do it. And, when I see somebody else doing it, I go, well, if he can pull this off, no offense. You know what I mean? Though it's great when you have a friend that did it, you go, and maybe I can pick your brain about some things.
Oh yeah, man.
It's not an easy process. All that editing and all of that,
I can't explain, man. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to tell people this. This has been a project that's really been in the work for years. It's been in the work since Lou stepped on stage with TTSA. I've been watching him, and the very first video that I put out about that guy, I said, I don't think we can trust Lou as far as I can throw him. And he looks like a husky boy, so I couldn't pitch him very far, and I think that's true. I stand by that.
Boy.
He is, man. The guy's built like a brick house, you could probably just, but the thing is, and people think that I hate Lou. I don't hate Lou. I don't hate Lou. I don't know Lou. He seems like a really charismatic, nice guy. I'd probably love having a beer and a slice of pizza with him and bullshitting and listen to all his stories. Like, it'd be fun. It's not about that, but it is about something that's important in this field, and that's truth. When did we lose sight of that? It's about the truth. Yeah. It's not about stories or what you can manipulate the people to believe, or what you can argue someone into believing. It's about the damn truth. And, that's what this is. There's some hardcore truth here based on fact, not opinion, fact. So I hope people really want that. If you're a hardcore Lue fan, don't watch my movie. It'll piss you off because I'm going to prove to you, and you're going to have some kind of cognitive dissonance. There's going to be a conflict in you because I'm going to provide you with evidence that the guy is not, you can't trust him for anything that he says. The question is, will you believe it? Or are you going to continue believing that the world is flat? It's up to you, you know?
Yeah. And you mentioned his connections or seeming involvement with Lockheed, which is interesting because, I've got my own theories about what some of these so-called UFOs are. And in my theory states that they are advanced aircraft that are ours. And who would be producing those aircraft would be Lockheed. And even one of the drone bases, right where one of these films was made, mere miles from it, is a Lockheed installation. And many people have sort of theorized that Lue's role is to fill the space with disinformation, tell people, no, these are aliens. They must be aliens. And people make hyperbolic statements like, this did, this made right angle turns. We have nothing that can make right angle turns. Any drone you buy at Walmart can make a right angle turn. So there seems to be a theory that he may be out there to take the heat off of these top secret drone projects that the government doesn't want people to know they possess yet.
Right.
What do you think of that? What do you think of that theory?
I definitely tend to agree with you. And the Nimitz UFO footage, I believe, was one of probably a Lockheed piece that was filmed. And here's something else that I discovered actually while researching Who's Lue, is that Aguadilla, Puerto Rico, right next to Rafael Hernandez Airport, where the Aguadilla UFO was spotted. There's a hotel that's down shore a few miles. It's actually the hotel where Mick West thought that the, Chinese paper lanterns that he thought were, the Aguadilla UFO were launched from. But less than a quarter mile away from that hotel, behind it, is a massive Lockheed Martin office. And I said, well, what the hell? What are the odds that those guys might have been flying something out that day and didn't know that there was a CBP plane up there that tracked them and caught them, and maybe that is what happens, like maybe the Nimitz maybe Lockheed was out there flying it, because I've heard statements from people that, at least I think it was the Princeton was sent out there to find this thing. Like they went out there looking for this thing because it crossed their path. And who would fly something over the staging area where our Pacific Fleet always goes? Like if you're going to the only reason you would do that is to see how our military responds to an unknown intruder, right? Like,
or what if they wanted to test the capabilities of their?
I think they did. I think that they
did against others. Let's see what happens. Let's see if they could catch it. Let's see if they could keep up with it. Let's see if what they perceive it to be, even, because that might tell them something about what our adversaries would do when encountering one of these top secret aircraft.
Makes perfect sense that you would test our own for it. In fact, I know that they do that because it was T.D. Barnes who said that they used to do it out at Area 51, that they would fly the SR-71 over there or some of their other test planes, or that they would take it over another Air Force location, and they would have like an Air Force radar technician on the ground who would be like, hey, something's going to fly over. If you catch anything of it, send the intel here. But if you don't, cool, because you're not supposed to. So they do that stuff, and they've always done that stuff, and it wouldn't surprise me if they were doing that out there, either to test the next generation drone or whatever they're testing, or to be testing our next generation radars. They might be testing both. They might be testing foreign response. They might be testing to see what shows up on satellite while they're doing that, But the question is, was it legitimate tests, or are these people that have this technology using it without the military knowing? It kind of worries me that type of technology is in the hands of private citizens, like who don't have an oath and haven't sworn an oath.
They got their own Air Force apparently that could smoke ours, which is scary,
Right. And, I mean, if they, that's scary.
Shara Samu is here in the live chat, and that's a very good question. I was gonna get to that, but can you tell people when your film is going to be finished and where people will be able to find it?
You'll be able to find it on my YouTube channel, unless I have some problems on YouTube with it, which, I might. It will also be on my Odyssey backup channel. as well. And I do plan to have a web page dedicated to it, which I will put the movie on the web page along with some documents from the movie so that people can go and look at the documents without having to pause the film and look at the screen. You can just go look at the dang documents on the web page and pull them up and see them along with links of where I found them, so you can go and find them yourself. Like if you think I'm made them up or faked them, like they're out there. So, this is a research video, and it is, and there's going to be a lot of research in it. And I really do, if Lou's watching this, man, please get a hold of me. It'll be a civil interview, but there's some stuff I would really rather not put out if you can exclude it. And I'd like to ask you some of this stuff, but there are going to be some hard questions. So, tit for tat, it's not going to be one of those walkover interviews. But I hope he does.
You're not going to do a UFO circle jerk. You know how much I love those.
The thing is, I wouldn't even ask him about UFOs. I wouldn't ask him about UFOs. I'm more interested in who's Lue, his personal life. I want to know when he met his wife. I want to know, like, he says he has 2 kids. Who are they? Like, is he a good father? Is he a cool guy? Like, is he cool to hang out with, or do his friends think he's a jerk? I want to know, I have a lot of really tough questions for Lue. Like, Lue, when did your business Never Ship Empty get incorporated, and in what state? What a deal breaker. What a hard question to ask a man. Like, I should be ignored for wanting to know when his business was started. Give me a break. Like, I'm not going to ask the guy about his work at Guantanamo Bay because, for one, I wouldn't believe a word he said. And there's plenty of footage of him out there saying that. I'd ask him about real stuff that he has no reason not to answer, and he probably wouldn't want to answer it. So, I mean, what are you going to say? I mean, I'll just put it out there. If he ever wants to respond to it, he can make a, FU video, Manny, a response video or whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I won't
some people,
I don't care.
Some people have gone a lot further in their sort of assertions about Lue. We have Kate Schneider in the live chat. That's Dark Journalist's girlfriend, and she says Dark Journalist was just showing me an interview Lue did the other day on a smaller channel, and he was lamenting about his haters. But it's interesting that Dark Journalist is calling him a CIA disinformation agent from the very beginning, from the very start. Interesting if that turns out to be the case. Maybe
I went that gambit. I thought that at one point.
Maybe he got it right, and maybe he's been right all the time because Dark Journalist is convinced that this is a CIA psyop and all this stuff.
It might be. It might be. TD Barnes also talked about the Aurora project and about how that was just a big con to get more money to build the B-2 Spirit. It was basically the Central Intelligence Agency and the defense industry creating this hoax project to get more funding from Congress to finish the B-2, which had run over budget and time allotment and all that. So it wouldn't surprise me if this is something similar to that. Dark Journalist might look into, God, talk to me, man. I want to talk to you off the record, definitely off camera sometime. But yeah, maybe I'll go reach out to him and then we should talk.
I'm trying to get him to come and do an interview here as well. I've been catching up with him in these talks he does with Joseph Farrell and a few other people that I like, whose books I enjoy. Good show. When do you think that the film will be finished and available for everybody?
It really depends. I've got one more phone interview scheduled for tomorrow, and then I'm really just waiting back to hear from Lue, and that's why I've been kind of publicly pressuring him. I'm like, hey, man, like, God, I want to tell your side of the story. This story is who's Lue. How can I tell it without his side of the story? But he won't give it to me. So all I got is his stinking webpage, which has got about as much truth in it as I don't know, a Campbell's soup ad or something. I don't know, but what can I do? If he doesn't get back to me, I'll release it in the next few weeks once I get the webpage ready and get the final touches put on it. But what can I do? I can't wait forever, Lue. So if you don't get in touch with me, I'm just going to put it out. I don't want to hear him or his sock puppets or anybody else crying about it later. That I didn't give him a chance to speak his mind, man. Like, you can't just ignore people and be like, oh, I don't have to answer you. Well, fine. After this movie comes out, maybe I'll just ignore Lue. I'll just be like, you know what? I'm beyond you, man. I'm over giving you a chance to speak your point of view. I'm just going to publish my information, and you can pucker up and kiss me where the sun don't shine. But I don't know, whatever.
So you think it's going to be you're going to give a release date in the next couple of weeks, though, or
maybe 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, so we'll get the full film in 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe we can have a watch party here.
Yeah.
Get the popcorn ready. I'll
Anybody
get the
can watch it.
popcorn ready, Manny.
Yeah, in fact, I say in the movie, I say share this movie in its entirety. Go ahead. Anywhere that people want to share it, go ahead. I don't care. I paid for it out of my pocket. I paid for all of the research costs. I paid for the web hosting. I paid for it, the subscriptions for the different sites to get the information that I needed. It's all paid for by me, and I don't care. Use it. Take it. I prefer people to leave it intact, but whatever. If you want to cut it apart and tell me what a jerk I am, you can do that too. I don't copyright strike people, and I don't have anything to hide. I don't care. Let's talk about it. That's what I want, is a dialogue. I want to talk about these questions. There's legitimate questions in this film about Lue Elizondo, his history, and his statements. And if he wants to ignore them, fine. That'll just leave it up to us to figure out who's Lue.
Well, thank you, Ash Dobbs, for a kind and generous $5 super chat saying, great show. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. We appreciate it. Viewer-supported show here. And V brought up a good point. You want to interview someone, step one, don't call them names and make wild, baseless accusations across the interwebs. I don't think anybody's making baseless accusations, but we are raising important questions. But I don't know if she's directing that to me.
I'm sure that's
I've never
been pretty vocal against Lue. That's fine. Yeah. I've called him a bullshitter. He is a bullshitter. That's my opinion. I thought, and if you go, I'm glad you brought that up, V, because when Lue first came out, I was very civil to him and tried to communicate with him and was ignored. I would ask hard questions. I wouldn't pretend to sugarcoat them. I tried sarcasm with Lue. I created a character called Tommy the Troll to try to get him to respond. He wouldn't respond. So let's try some facts. I really don't care if Lue doesn't want to be interviewed for this. I really don't care. He can say what he wants.
No, but when you've said, wouldn't you prefer that you get the interview?
Absolutely. I want to hear his side of you, but
just so we're sure that you're going to be fair, will you let him watch what you got first and take notes or keep a copy?
If Lue Elizondo
do the
interview with me, if he wants to sit down with me and watch the whole thing, I'll stop it anytime he wants so he can make a comment, and I'll put it in the film. I'll put it right in there.
I think that's a fair way to do it.
I won't even censor it. I'm about the damn truth, man. He's the one who wants to manipulate everything. He's the one who wants to pretend that he's someone that he's not. He's the one who wants to portray himself as a whistleblower and a UFO hunter and a super soldier. I'm a guy from Portland who sees through bullshit. That's all I am. I don't care. I'm not a big YouTuber. I'm not a celebutante. I'm not one of these people. I'm just a guy like you, like everybody who's watching this. I'm a guy who's done months of research on this. If you want to see what I got, watch it. If you don't. It's just that simple.
No, I, for one, am glad that you did it, because then a lot of the information that you have is sort of stuff that, inconsistencies that have been adding up over the years, and this little point that's important that people miss, and this point that's important that people miss about Mr. Elizondo. But I for one, am happy that it's all going to be jammed into one thing here, and there's going to be a definitive sort of resource for people that do have important questions, right?
I have been watching him and his story and collecting information for years. So I have a bunch of information, and I don't know that I have anything that that somebody else hasn't already found out there, but I do have a lot of stuff that I haven't seen anywhere else. So that's all I can say about it. I don't want to give away too much. And honestly, it's all in there, but it's still just a set of facts, and it's still subject to interpretation. But what do you do when you ask these questions and you present these hard, this concrete evidence, and people ignore you? I mean, you got to at some point move on and say, well, we have to judge them, even though we don't want to. I'd rather hear his side of the story and hear what he has to say, but I want to see some additional evidence to back up his story too. Because the guy has been found in many different contradictions that would, in my opinion, he doesn't have any credibility. If he told me the sky was blue, I'd walk outside to check. What can I say?
Yeah, I mean, and my side of it is that he outwardly, if you just trust everything he says about his background, he appears to be credible. But then when we start getting these problems, like him giving inaccurate information to reporters in the form of like he was the source of this New York Times original article, and he gave them completely and totally inaccurate information, saying that his program had $23 million in funding or whatever it was. And that turns out that wasn't the case, saying that he ran the program. The Pentagon later said, no, he didn't. Then maybe he did. Senator Reid said he did. And, all this gets confusing real fast. And I've often wondered if this was just a personal project of his and Harry Reid and a few other people, like, well, let's create a program and use our influence to get some information. But what's interesting is there's no papers. There's no papers. In other words, if he's investigating all these UFO reports and doing all this stuff, where's all the reports? Where's the papers? What do we get for the 23 million? But wait, that wasn't his 23 million. That was somebody else's 23 million. So here we go with the confusion again. But I can't find a report, a piece of paper, something that he did studying UFOs for the years that he claims that he was doing that. And that's just not how the government works. There would be papers. There'd be a paper trail behind him, I would think a mile long, but John Greenwald has tried to find information and come up real short, and me, and I know
I've got one piece in here that I'm going to show in the film that shows it's about ATIP, and it does show that ATIP had funding from 2009 through 2010 with provisional or whatever funding. So there was a little bit of money, but it doesn't show how much it was. But it does show that there was a program at least through that time frame. And it does list Elizondo working there actually, as well as Hal Putoff from Bigelow Advanced Aerospace Scientific Studies, whatever.
Anytime there's a program with government money, Putoff is right there with his hand out. He is always right there with his hand out for government money.
I trust him. I found one piece that showed that there was only a single bid on the contract for ATIP, and it came from Bass. So the 22 million I don't think it came from ATIP. I think it actually came from OSAP, and it was applied towards ATIP, and they did have approximately 10 or 12 reports that they put out. That's where, if you remember, there was a little blip on the radar in the media about it, and it was the traversable wormholes and cloaking devices that the U.S. military was studying. Those were the reports.
That was part of the crackpot research, and I'll call it crackpot research. I don't care what anybody says.
I think that was all
Eric Davis. That was Eric Davis involved with that as well.
Yeah, and they were kicking that from ATIP or OSAP to Bass. That was just Harry Reid scratching Bigelow's back, who was a contributor of his. They're buddies. They live in Vegas together. Blah blah blah. Whatever.
A lot of people say that that's a no bid.
I want to talk about Harry Reid.
It was a sweetheart deal, though, for sure, for somebody that nobody else got to bid. Nobody else even knew
no bid.
that you could bid, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe MUFON would have bid, or some other UFO organization would have bid to do that for the money. But nobody got an opportunity to except Bigelow.
So no bid contracts are kind of sketchy always, because you could charge $25,000 for a hammer, and there's no one there to bid on you to compete. That's
why people do,
Yeah, it's exactly why they do it. It's no strange game, and that's why I say, that's not a game that Lue would play. That's the game that somebody else plays. That's above his pay grade. The guy's not, he's not that, I thought, like Dark Journalist, I went through the CIA bid at one point, and I was seriously like, I had backed up all my files on Dropbox. I was like, man, someone's going to come in and take me out. Like, this is not good. I need to get some public exposure on this. And then I woke up one morning, I was like, you're a freaking moron, man. There's some pieces that I saw, and I was like, no, Lue wants to be, but he's not. He does. So
but paranoia is part of conspiracy land. You know what's so funny? I have this cabin in the middle of nowhere in the woods, and there's a dirt road leading to it. And I kept seeing, and it's a throughway, like it'll go to another dirt road at the end of the road that you can turn right or left on. But I kept seeing this dark SUV with tinted out windows and everything. And I couldn't catch the plate. Every time I would see it, it would go down the dirt. I was convinced. I was like, there's feds. My neighbors were convinced. Feds are watching you for some reason, Steve. There's a freaking, they got to be FBI or something. Look at this SUV. A bunch of us were convinced it was feds. No, my neighbor down the road got a brand new SUV, black SUV with tinted out windows. But for like 2 months, we kept seeing it going, the fucking feds again. Is that the feds?
Who is it?
And what are they doing here in the middle of nowhere? How did they find me? Yeah, that's all bullshit.
Well,
Just paranoid.
that's funny. You know, you bring that up, and that reminds me of an article one of the first articles about Lue that I found, because when I started this research, I went back to Google and started to find the first time that Lue had ever been mentioned, and went in reverse order, you know, from chronologically. But one of the old articles, one of the first journalists that he tried to kind of solicit with this TTSA story with all the footage and whatnot, basically was like, they said, you know, when I first left the interview, I was like, holy crap, what is this guy? What am I in? You know? And then they said, like, at the, you know, on the subway home, I realized this guy was completely full of it. You know, like he was sitting with his back to the corner, pretending like there might be someone walking in the door to shoot him, or, you know, like he had this weird, it was this weird conspiratorial man with a Billy Goat goatee. The article was just amazing. I was like, wow, this guy saw right through him. And what was interesting is that was, you know, right at the beginning of Lue coming out. So, you know, like, it seems like he just shopped around until they found reporters, you know, like, you know, Knapp was there from day one, but the media didn't really bite to Leslie Kean. Yeah.
Leslie Kean is into some wacky stuff, and she has straight covered absolute now proven and provable hoaxes as real and genuine in the past. So I don't really have much trust for her. She's, of course, would be friendly to any narrative that he was telling her.
Well, that explains a lot. Yeah.
She's into a lot of wild stuff and hoaxes she's covered and things like that.
Yeah, so that's what really sparked
off. People keep
asking,
you know, where they're going to be able to see your new film. It's going to be on the Area 503 YouTube channel. That's where he'll be hosting it there, due out in 2 to 3 weeks. Check his YouTube channel, Area 503. I'm going to find that and put it in the live chat. You should also go over there and subscribe to him, because he's doing some excellent work besides this over there. And if you like my channel, you would probably like his, because Manny's kind of a no bullshit guy too.
Right.
And I love it. There needs to be more of us, right?
Yeah, for sure, man. You know, like, and you know, we just got to call it how we see it, man. You know, and that's what we both do. You know, we look at things and you're like, hey, man, this is how I see it. That ain't right. You know, that's all we can do with the information that we have, you know, and I've got all the information that I've got that I can collect pretty much on Lue right now, unless he wants to give me some more. You know, that's where I'm at. So that's where we're at. We're at in this, you know, like, it's moving ahead. So let's do it. You know, we have nothing to fear from the truth. This is a quote that Lue has said. So let's talk about some truth. We have nothing to hide.
Yeah, well, a wiser man than me once said, the only people who fear questions are people with something to hide.
Yeah.
That's concerning to me too. Like, why not just you know, do a hardball interview, get this stuff all out of the way? But it doesn't seem like it ever
I don't think he could survive it. I think it would cripple his image, and he's now a public figure, so it's all about image. It's not about reality, it's about image. So as long as people are cool signing on with that, but you might as well be signing on with the latest loudmouth politician, because that's pretty much what he's doing. It's the same kind of thing. You know, it's just like, oh, you know, like, we're gonna change everything. He's not changing nothing, man. He's gonna tell you what you want to hear to get your vote. He's gonna do what he wants. It's what they all do. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Did you happen to see this letter too that Chris Mellon put out, like basically saying that the government should give Lue his job back if they start a new UFO program? How would you feel about that? Like,
I'd be shocked. Crazy. I want to know why he hasn't lost security clearance for his role in the leak of those videos. You know, I mean, Christopher Mellon in the the Phenomenon movie admits that he bent the rules a little bit to get those videos out of the Pentagon. Well, I'm not sure that national security things are really kind of bending the rules. Those are kind of felonies, you know? So, I don't know. The only thing I could put up with, and I do talk about this in the film, is that there is some strong political connections there. And when you add Christopher Mellon into the equation, it makes perfect sense, because the guy's connected back to his, I think, great-grandfather who founded the Mellon Bank of Pittsburgh and was like a judge. You know, like, and they've been politically connected for 4 generations. So I think that's part of why Lue's connected at the hip with him, because that's his political connections. Like, that's going to keep him protected. You know, that's why he's probably not in jail. But who knows, man? I'm not inside the Pentagon. I'm not inside of the NCIS office that would investigate a leak in the Navy footage like this. I'm not inside of the federal prosecutor's office. Those are the people who should be looking at this and saying, why didn't they investigate this? There was clearly a leak from the Pentagon. Why were they allowed to profit from this substantially? Why are they allowed to continue to profit from it and then snub their nose? And for Mellon to ask for Lue to have his job back, That's fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry. That is the most absurd thing I've heard in my life. You know, those two, Lue should be in prison, not getting his job back, in my opinion. I think he broke many laws, but we'll see. You know, like, will he ever be prosecuted? Probably not. Probably not. He's got political.
Yeah, I've mentioned I have a real problem with him somehow getting those videos out and leaking them and then profiting from them for years. You know,
Yeah.
And the other thing that gets me is if that's the best that he could get while working in the Pentagon, these grainy ass videos that may or may not have been manipulated, video added, sound added.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
what's some
the
real
videos
footage?
were not the videos were not.
Again.
They were not pristine data, is what I'm saying, though. They were manipulated or purposefully downsampled so that they would be grainy as shit. I just don't understand that that's the best that the Pentagon has as far as UFO videos. I don't believe it because I
Where's
know
the
people
radio data? Where's where's the other sensor data?
Sensor data. Yeah.
Where's
Why
the
don't we get
reports?
the corroborating evidence? We never do. He
No, we
says
never
it
see it.
exists. Why didn't he release that with this stuff if it existed? Why didn't
I
he
think that they
leak
might have
that,
caught on
you
to
know?
him if he asked for all that to be declassified. You see, the thing is, in October 2017, when he quit, he had filed, I think, a month before that to release those videos. So he'd filed that document request. And if he'd have gone on the radar as requesting all this other stuff, they wouldn't have done it. They'd have been like, oh no, you're up to no good. You shouldn't have that stuff. ATIP's closed. You're part of the Special Access Projects Management staff now. ATIP's been closed since 2012. Why are you wanting UFO videos? Funny thing about the UFO videos, though, the Nimitz footage, in Lue's own words, was an ATIP dog and pony video. Whenever they brought somebody by the ATIP office to show them what the program was about, that's the video that they showed to the politicians, to the junior military.
To get some more funding, yeah.
That was there's probably thousands of people who have seen that. That was nothing good. That was garbage. It was junk. Show us the good stuff, like you said earlier. You know, don't come out with 3 pieces of sketchy video. Promise us a dozen more that never showed up. Promise us a UFO with Tom DeLonge that never shows up. Promise us a UFO tracking app that we can put on our phone that never shows up with Tom DeLonge. You know, and then when things don't go your way, you know, like,
What do you think about the separation between him and TTSA? I think that he kind of figured he could make more money as a solo.
If you want to know my opinion, and I speak about this in the film, it's my opinion that it was larger than that, and it was geopolitical, and it really had to do with the 2020 election. Because if you'll notice, there was, and I talk about it in the book, right in the last 70 days of Trump's presidency, he gutted the Pentagon. He cut a bunch of people out of there and left a hole for Lue's buddies to come flying in and do whatever the hell they're doing now. And that was his last ditch effort, basically, because they thought that if they were going to keep Trump, and they probably would have dropped us out of a few more missile treaties or something like that. But I don't know what they were up to. And I do talk about that in the movie because it's you don't know. You know, we're not a fly in the wall at TTSA with Tom DeLonge, Chris Mellon, and Lue Elizondo. And to be honest with you, I doubt Lue even knows what the plan is. He's not a king. You know, he's a rook. I won't say he's a pawn. He's a rook, but he's not a king. There's somebody else bigger than him putting this together. You know, you can figure out for yourselves how far it goes. Does it go to the CIA? Does it go to Bob Bigelow? Does it just go to Lue and Mellon and, you know, a couple of people sitting around a bar going, yeah, we're getting rich. You know, like, I don't think so. Mellon doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who needs any money, you know? So I think his motives are more for an industry that he's, you know, his family's been ingrained in for years, maybe a defense industry or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And I see V in the live chat. No, we just did 3 shows that were like on just regular enduring mysteries. I'm trying to be kinder and gentler, but sometimes I gotta speak up. Okay.
I like the controlled opposition, because that's really where Lue has placed himself, is really right at the top of the ufology subculture. You know, he's put himself there to control the narrative, and he does it with a minority of followers, but a majority of vocal voices, if that makes sense. You know, the numbers are against
very
him.
Small minority, but they're very loud.
Loud.
The supporters are very loud. They attack everyone mercilessly that asks questions. You just get hammered, you know? I mean, I asked one question, why didn't he release his tax returns? And I clipped that video out of that show and I put it on oh man, did I get? I couldn't believe
Right.
it. And again, mostly brand new Twitter accounts, nameless, faceless people. Tell me
The
how
tax
wrong
thing-
I am. And
That's like an old Stan Friedman thing. Like, let me see your taxes so I can prove what military rank you were. Let me see your DD 214. Let me see your discharge papers. Where's your reports? Where's your where are you going to prove your story? And it seems like a lot of people have lost sight of that, man. Like, there's not many people like you and me that say, hey, where's the proof in this? Where's the evidence, man? Because all the evidence that I've seen shows something else. Like, but again, I don't think he's interested in truth, man, which is funny for a guy whose number one promise on Twitter is, I will always tell you the truth. I will always push for full disclosure. I will always respect anyone, no matter what their opinion. Well, Lou, it's pretty disrespectful to ignore people. To ignore people who ask you legitimate questions is rude, so whatever, if he wants to be a guy who says one thing and does another, that's fine. But it's pretty clear what he's about. And his staunch followers will follow him right off the cliffs like the lemmings that they are, unfortunately. But
yeah, it does seem that way. It seems like he's the Pied Piper, and everybody's following him right off the cliff. Maybe you're right.
They are, man.
I don't know. I just don't understand, and I don't understand the cult like atmosphere that's sort of grown around him. Like again. But I've seen this before, and Grant Cameron talks about this. It's like this phenomenon of the UFO savior. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the disclosure saint of disclosure who's going to bring it and it's going to make it happen. And people truly believe that about Lou. Like, he's going to bring us disclosure. And
he doesn't have it. He doesn't have
4 years.
anything.
And what does he got?
Yeah, if he had it, he'd have brought it. If he's using it for his own machine now. And you'll notice how his agenda kind of changes every 2 years, depending on how the congressional votes go or the presidential elections. It's like this, man. And so you understand that there's really only there's a few industries that kind of follow that cycle, but there's one that follows it like religiously. And that's the defense industry, because that's where they get all their money, every penny of it. That's where they get it. They don't have any other customers other than foreign people who they can sell money to, So there's been a lot. And, like, we could talk about the geopolitics, the taxes, there were some other plays made in 2017 that around this where international arms sales were taxed a little differently, from like a 35% to a 0% maybe, which is kind of messed up, because arms sales on advanced technology is supposed to go back to the taxpayers who paid for that technology to be created in the first place. That's why they tax these arms companies. They're like, hey, you could sell it abroad to our allies, but we're going to take a chunk back for the taxpayers. They're not doing that anymore.
Yeah. Gunner65 is asking how long you waited for a response to your FOIA from the National Personnel Records Center. Still waiting.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sorry. I did get a response within 24 hours that the office was closed. I've got my confirmation numbers, and they said it'll be handled when the office opens back up again to full capacity. They'll be doing a FIFO, I think, first in, first out type thing. So I'm in the queue, and I've got numbers to check when the office opens back up again. But during the lockdown time, they were only doing emergency requests for, like vets who need homes, and stuff. And I was like, shit, dude, that's more important than anything I'm talking about with this guy. Like, let's get some vets and some houses, man. Like, they don't need to be got it to hell with Lou and his lies, but yeah. So yeah, I don't know when I'll get an answer, but when I do, it'll go up on the page. If I get it, it'll go up on the webpage. Any additional information I get after the movie comes out, I'll be putting on the webpage. So people can check that out, and I'll be advertising that in the movie once it's live. The webpage is live. I'll be putting it live right before that. So
yeah, so you're gonna have a website to go for this specific project, which is great.
Yep.
Everybody should be able to find it, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I'll advertise that. I don't want to push it till it goes live, but
yeah, you still got a little bit of hair pulling to get through, right? That final render.
Yeah, it is. It's big
part. Yeah.
The way I've structured my stuff, the final one isn't too bad, but it's all the ones leading up to that with the subparts. Because one of these projects was an hour long, and it was so big, man. Oh yeah, I had a few setbacks here. Like, my damned film editor decided to update on me halfway through the project, so half of the project files had to be converted to the new new program.
Format, yeah.
Yeah, and they completely redid the layout in my editor with this new version, and I didn't know where anything was, which slowed down my workflow to a crawl. Because I'm trying to learn the new layout, and things that used to only take a certain hotkey now take 3 clicks.
My editor, I turn it off. I'm like, I have it on a DVD install. It's a couple of years old. I put it into a workstation, and the first thing I do is turn off online updates. I like it the way it came out the box.
Yeah.
Don't mess with it, because they do. That kind of stuff happens. Drives me nuts.
Yeah, definitely. I had resisted the urge to click the update, but I'd gone in and out of the editor so many times that I just kind of reflexively clicked to update at one time, and it started updating. I was like, oh God, here we go. What am I in for? So, yeah. Hey, I need a quick break real quick, just a minute or two. Is that all right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
okay.
Let me knock you out. Let me know when you're back. Oh, wait a minute.
Or make me big screen.
Wrong one. There you go. So tonight we're talking with filmmaker and I, for one, can't wait to see the whole thing. Tonight we got an exclusive preview right at the beginning of our broadcast here, in case you're just joining us. 10 or 12 minutes of it. And I think that Manny has raised a lot of important questions that should be asked and, in my view, should be answered, right? Vinny Coxis with a kind and generous $4.99 super chat. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. We're a viewer-supported show. There's a few ways you could do that. You could join our Patreon for as little as $1 a month. We give extra content, Patreon-only streams, a monthly show journal, as well as all my music gets posted there. Sometimes we post previews of upcoming production videos there, all for as little as $1 a month. Or you could send a PayPal donation. And the instructions to do that are in the description of this video. You can also send a super chat if we're broadcasting live. That would be that money button down there. Which we just got a kind and generous super chat from Vinny Coxis for $4.99. You can send any amount you wish, any denominations, any kind of money. Don't worry about it. Whatever money you have, YouTube will convert it for us. Great. So I want to thank David for a kind and generous PayPal donation of $10. And I want to thank Warren for a kind and generous PayPal donation of $25, and also want to thank Alan for a kind and generous $5. Thank you guys for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. Much, much appreciated. We are a viewer-supported show, so throwing a few bucks in the hat really does help us to keep the show continuing forward. And we want to thank and recognize each and every one of you. Unlike some shows, we read every single super chat. So I think that's important to recognize people that are supporting you. I don't understand some of these shows, and it especially bothers me when it's a show that's getting hundreds or thousands of dollars in super chats, and they don't even bother to thank the viewers. So here is those are the 3 ways to support us by throwing money at us. But there is one more way, and that is to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And if you happen to be listening in audio podcast land, please remember that you're missing half the fun. Go on over to YouTube, put Truth Seekers in the search bar. Look for me, the strange guy with the sunglasses, your host, Stephen Cambion. Smash the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and you'll get a notification when we're doing the next live show. And you too can come here and be a part of the live tapings of the Truth Seekers podcast. That's part of the fun. You hear we're taking comments, questions, suggestions from the audience. We love that interaction. So please come here and be a part of it. The other way to help, make sure you leave a comment. Let us know what you think of this show. Like, comment, subscribe, and share these on your social media. It really does help us to continue. There we go. Manny's back. It really helps us to continue the show. So sorry about that. Usually we have a musical break, but I didn't have anything queued up. We're going to wrap things up, though. I don't want to keep you too long. I appreciate you taking the time to do this and especially for giving us the preview, the 10-minute preview of the film, so everybody gets a sneak peek here. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, definitely. You're welcome, Steven. You've been a great help to me through this project, man. Just having a sounding board to talk to and bounce things off of and whatnot. And I'm glad to come here, man. I'm glad to talk with you about this. And we'll talk more after the film comes out, because I'll be a little bit more open about what I'm talking about. Everything will be out. I don't want to give away the spoilers right now, you know. And there's a few spoilers. There's a few really good pieces, including a whopper right at the end. So I hope everyone out there gets a chance to check out the movie when it comes out. And if you want to help try to put some pressure on Lue, go out to my Twitter and follow me on Twitter. And when I make my requests, you know, and use the hashtag Who's Lue and ask him to, you know, be interviewed, like that post, retweet it, get it. You know, the only way that he will ever respond to people like us is if we get some pressure on him, because he's proven time and time again, like you said earlier, Steven, he won't come on shows that are questioning. You know, in the film, I call it a scratch and sniff tactic, where you scratch them and see what they're made of. And then, okay, I like this one. I'll go over there. I won't go there, you know, like, and that's exactly what he does to people like us. You know, he'll go on a show that's got 10 people watching it and, you know, 300 subscribers, but he won't come on your show and answer some hard questions. And that's probably why.
And you know what? I just wanted to say in clarity, I have made it my policy that we will always be respectful. We might ask hard questions, but I've had some people here that were like, I didn't vet enough, you know, like, and I just shouldn't even have interviewed them because some of their stories were just too wackadoo and wild and out there and no evidence. But we were very respectful, and we always are, to everybody that comes here as a guest. We try to be, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, like, I people have been downright just nasty to me on social media in responses to Lue, you know, defending him, some of those people you were talking about. And then they sit there and say that I'm a jerk for the way I talk to him. And I'm like, I just don't get some of the hypocrisy that's out there, but I don't care. I'm just like, whatever. People are just people. They can do what they want. You know, but
and also, Manny, it has something to do with a little bit it has to do with just how men are, right? Like, you know, I like men that I can talk to like men. You know, some of these kind of people that are like, you know, really easily offended, or, you know, like, I want to be able to look, I'm a man. I can talk like a man. You're a man. We can talk like men together. Luke can take it. Military guys are, you know, they can take a little bit of a ball busting. They, you know, they can talk like men. Military guys talk like men behind closed doors. So I don't understand people getting so offended when you just ask some questions, right?
Right. You know, and it's a debate tactic to feign, you know, to fake that sort of offense. You know, you're like, oh, I don't like what you're going to talk about. I'm going to twist it and to make it seem like you said this. And it's just, it's so basic and draining. And people just love to do that to you on social media, tie you up in circles. And meanwhile, where's Elizondo? Why he says his number 4 promise is to treat people respectfully, but you know, he lets people do this to other people all the time, and he doesn't tell them, hey guys, don't do that. And that really kind of makes me mad. You know, like, if those were people who watch my channel doing that to someone, I'd say, don't you do that. You know, don't be harassing someone, don't be bullying someone.
And by the way, you know, I have to,
don't do it in my name.
Yeah, I just had to do that this week because some people were tweeting at people that I cover, like David Wilcock or Jimmy Church or whoever, Emery Smith, and referencing me, like, hey, you know, and I had to tell people, like, don't do that. I don't want you to
be
do
cool,
that.
Man.
Don't
like,
include my name, and especially don't include my name, because the other thing is that people could take that as a form of me directing people to harass people, and we don't condone anybody doing anything like that here. So. Yeah, no. He should come forward and say, hey, guys, people are allowed to ask questions. People are allowed to doubt me. It's okay.
I tell people that all the time. I say, let the man answer for himself, man. He's on Twitter. He knows how to type, clearly. You know, like, why does a guy have to hide behind all these people who act like jerks for him and then not disavow their actions? You know, like, not get rid of, not say, hey man, I distance myself. That ain't me. You know, like, and that is a message to everyone out there. If you're that kind of person, don't come around me in my channel. I don't want that crap. I don't want that negativity. I want to have a real conversation, and it'll be respectful. You know, like I can ask someone a hard question respectfully. I'm not gonna be like, oh, you're a freaking liar, Lou. You're a POS. You're a jerk. Like, come on,
you
man.
know what? I have to say though, I've lost my shit a few times, and it's even recently. Like, you know, we had these certain content creators come on here, and I let loose on them, and I should have done that. I realized later, and I apologized, but I realized later, if somebody comes here, they're doing me a favor. And they're doing my audience a favor.
Yeah.
So I should be more respectful and certainly not yell and scream at people. You know.
Yeah.
I'm a passionate guy, so I got pissed off, and then
I feel you there.
And then I thought I may never get another crack at this egg, so I'm cracking it. I do not, I just said I'm cracking this one. I'm going to ask these 3 most important questions or make the points I want to make, and they can say whatever. And it got pretty heated, but at the end of the day, everybody was okay because we talk like men and we work it out, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason to be disrespectful or to be rude or whatever, And I don't, honestly, I hate to say it, but calling somebody a bullshitter isn't really disrespectful. I mean, yes, is it? After 4 years of being ignored by the guy, is it? I mean, yeah, add a little context to it and maybe it might be a little different, but yeah, I don't know if people want to take 1 or 2 of my tweets out of context and, say, oh, this is what you always do, Manny. I let them. I don't care. I really don't care what people think. Like I'm just going to do me and they can do them.
Yeah. Well, I, for one, am glad that you're making this film and I can't wait to see it. So hopefully you'll let us know as soon as it's done, because I could do a review of the whole thing here and give people the link, try to amplify your voice, because unfortunately that's another problem in this sphere, which is sometimes the guy with the biggest bullhorn just wins and then they don't have to answer questions. And they don't have to, because they have a bigger bullhorn and they could just say, nothing to see here, into their big bullhorn. And guys like you and me with a smaller bullhorn, I think it's important. And I'm going to ask other people that I know to try to post your link and amplify your voice too, because I think this is important work. People need to see it. They need to hear it. They need to think about it. And I'm glad you're doing that work, Manny.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm just, like I said, I'm just trying to put it all together because I've spent a lot of time on this and I've tried to get people to understand why I feel the way I do, but it's so hard sometimes. And hopefully this film will do that. It'll just, here it is. It's a mountain of evidence to counteract the mountain of stories that are on the other side, because I wanted to say evidence, but there's no evidence on the other side. I mean, there's none. There really isn't anything to back up all of the grandiose stories. I mean, it's just, they're just war stories. So if that's what people, if you want those, go for it, but if you want any form of truth, I'd recommend not really listening to what he has to say, because he's got his own agenda, and that's the truth. I mean, he does have an agenda. It might shift every 2 years with the election cycles, but it's still an agenda, so. Yeah,
maybe people are suggesting that he might get into politics too and run to be a senator or congressman.
He had said so in one of his interviews that he might run in the state that he lives in. And I laughed because in the state he lives in, you can get elected for like 20,000 votes, like it's kind of a joke. And then that's why we're talking about all these new senators in Congress who are fighting the Pentagon and the UAP issue. I'm like, you fucking nimrods. No, they're not. They're a bunch of rookies who are just being led along by their money. These kids don't know any better. They're just getting these committee assignments because they know that they'll do what they're told when they go in there. Like that's, I mean, what do you say? Like it's serious. Like he might run. I don't know. I doubt, that he could win in any sort of real fair election where people look at facts, but I don't know. I mean, other people have won politics by being lying, just saying whatever you want. So maybe he sure acts like a politician. I mean, ignoring people who question him, only going on select channels that will, cast him in a favorable light. Isolating himself from critiques and reviews, blindly claiming wins when they're evident failures, like his 180-day report. That was a huge win.
Nothing. Yeah, it was a big nothing. I want to thank Anonymous Rex with a kind and generous $4.99 super chat. He says, great guest tonight. Manny, your work looks great. I sent you an email. Thank you. Well, thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show, Anonymous Rex, and I'm sure Manny will look out for your email. Maybe some people once in a while, somebody will be in the live chat with a very nice nugget of information to share. So maybe that's what that's about. I'm hopeful that you'll get some more useful nuggets.
And along those lines, if anybody out there watching this has got some information that they feel would be relevant for this, send it in to me at my email address, realarea503@gmail.com. And, I will look at it, but I do want evidence. I'm not interested in rumors and opinions and thoughts and feelings, really. I want evidence. So let's have something to back it up. I mean, I guess rumors are cool, but, I'd still like to see a document to support something,
I get an awful lot of both in my inbox personally, I get a lot of both. So, well, I want to thank you for joining us. I'm going to throw you out of here, and then I am going to take a quick musical break. And then I'm just going to take questions and comments from the live chat for a little while. But I appreciate you being here tonight. I hope you'll come back once the film is done, especially if I give you a terrible review. This film sucks.
Oh, for sure, man. I'll definitely come back when it's out.
And we're going to have Manny come and explain why this film sucks so bad. No, I think
I'd love it. I'd love it. I
can tell already I'm going to like it. So I can't wait to see it. Thank you for doing this important work. And thanks for coming here and giving us this exclusive first peek at it. I appreciate that.
Yeah, my pleasure. Looks like there's some people I want to say hi to real quick, man. I see Lee at First Floor Audio's here, and Captain Corrosive was here earlier. Jessica's here. Lord Ludicrous Platt. All kinds of cool people, man. You guys are the ones who I sit and talk to. So I'm glad to see you guys here and give you guys all a shout out and say, hey, it's good to be seen for once instead of just hanging out in the chat.
Well, you are most welcome here, friend. You have a great night.
All right. Take care out there, everyone.
All right, boy, there we go. What a great guest with some important work to share. And we've got a lot of great new shows and stories coming up for you next week. But it's Friday night, so we're going to take a short musical break. And when I come back, we'll read any new or remaining super chats. I will devote my full and total attention to the live chat. So if you have comments, questions, suggestions for new shows, I will be giving my full and total attention to the live chat and reading any remaining super chats. So if you're feeling generous and you want to throw a couple of bucks in our hat, know that we read every single super chat. And when I return from this short break, we will be reading all of those. So we'll be right back, friends.
Self-improvement's overrated.
And we are back, friends. So I noticed we got a new super chat. Let me make sure we recognize that kind and generous person. We have A. Aaron with a kind and generous $5 super chat. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. And thanks to everyone tonight for their kindness, their generosity, and their support. This is a viewer-supported show, so if you're feeling generous, there's a money button down there, and we read every single super chat and recognize everybody. Area 503 is now in our live chat saying, Truth Seekers, you got it. Stephen, thanks for having me. I was thanking him in the live chat. Thanking him in the live chat there. So, comments, questions for me, please put them in all capital letters. I see that we have many people who are asking again, and I put the Area 503 YouTube channel into the live chat earlier, but I can do that again because people are asking, where is it that you're going to be able to see this? He's going to host it right on his own YouTube channel. 1 second. Let me see here. Yeah, so it's just put Area 503 into the YouTube search bar, but I'm going to put it right into our live chat right now. You should hit the subscribe button over there. You'll get a notification when the email is, or excuse me, when the documentary is done, and then you'll know it's there, available for watching, right? Cosmic Q-Toast, question for you, Steve. Have you attempted to communicate with UAPs yet? I'm not quite sure what you mean communicate. I've shot a laser pointer at something in the sky. I wasn't sure what it was. Maybe that's not such a good idea. But no, not really communicate. I'm not even sure how you would do that. But, you know, I know that some people are into this CE5 stuff, and I really don't. It's not that I don't believe that that's possible. I'm not a big fan of this buy an app and talk to aliens for $10. I think that's very suspect. So I'm not sure if that's what you mean by communicate with UAPs. Off-World Adam says, I have to travel a story to have a smoke. That was quick, Steve. Well, we'll try to get longer musical guests for your smoking pleasure there, Off-World Adam. Dr. Numbnuts is here. Confucius say, he who go to bed with an itchy bone and wake up with a brown finger. Great. Great. Pearls of wisdom here, right? First Floor Audio is here and says, True Seekers, great show tonight. Manny at Area 503 makes for a great guest. Yeah, I would tend to agree. And I'm glad we could finally have him here as more than just a quick panel member. He's been on a few panels or jumped on here, but not to this extent. And, you know, he's one of the few people that I had seen out there asking a lot of these questions about Lue. So, you know, I think it's important that we air not just believer voices, but more skeptical ones as well. Yeah, Spooky is asking, what other enduring mysteries would you like us to cover? I know we've got a few more of those enduring mysteries. And by the way, Spooky, I didn't realize, but we have another episode of Enduring Mysteries, the Georgia Guidestones. So whenever I finally do the playlists, and by the way, Spooky, that's one of the reasons I'm doing more Enduring Mystery shows, so that we can have good playlists. We will soon have a Roswell playlist. We will soon have an Enduring Mysteries playlist, a Christian Mysteries playlist, among others. Spooky's been trying to get me to do that for months. And I know it's not hard, but I was like, well, we need more playlists. So we're working on getting some more shows of this Enduring Mysteries series so that we could have an Enduring Mysteries playlist. I don't know about you, but especially when I'm going to sleep, I like playlists because then I can listen to, like, you know, it won't shut off. It'll just keep going until I fall asleep, right? There is many, many hours of content on many, many different subjects. Unfortunately, right now, we just have them all in chronological order, and you have to go through this huge list, or you can use the search bar to search for a specific topic, but it'll be much better once we have these playlists in place. We're going to try to get that set up. And also a bit of show business for the people that had asked. Yes, I was horribly behind in the audio podcast, but we're up to date except for this very show, which I will be uploading to Spreaker right after we conclude our broadcast. So we're all up to date on that. These alternate video platforms we're behind in again. So I'm going to be working on that this weekend. No rest for the wicked, right? There won't be shows tomorrow night and most likely not Sunday night. We'll be returning Monday, but in the meantime, I'll still be working on show stuff here. I'm not going to the cabin this weekend because it's going to be -6. And when it's -6 at the cabin, just getting from the main road, if there's ice or snow, just getting from the main road to the cabin is sometimes almost impossible when it's that cold. And then -6, whoo. I did a good job building that cabin. At least one room is super well insulated, but the other 2 rooms are drafty as hell and need a lot more work. So, I check out when it's like 15 or less, but I definitely check out of cabin trips when it's -6. I'll pass. I'll pass on this weekend. I'll just hang out at home and try to get some stuff done for the show for the coming week. We have these Enduring Mystery shows to prep and some other stuff. Art Levine, can you do an episode with believers in mediumship and skeptics on mediumship? There are so many mediums on YouTube claiming to channel celebrities from the great beyond, like Above Life channel. Yes, Mr. Levine, I have done previous shows on mediums. There's a series, that's another series, playlist we can make, spooky, called My Favorite Fake Psychics. And at least half of those fake psychics, or more even, I think, were mediums. We did a show on the Long Island medium. We did a show on John Edward and on Van Prague and a few other well-known celebrity mediums, Art Levine. But we can certainly return if we get willing participants. I would be willing to host a panel show of both believers and skeptics in the art of talking to the dead, because I think it's a lot of hooey and nonsense. Never found. I have investigated art. At least 100 psychics, and about half of them were mediums. And I have not found a single one that I believe had any kind of supernatural powers or that was truly speaking to the dead. What I found is people doing magic tricks and hokey cold reading techniques. That's all I have found as far as mediums go. I don't think there's anything to it. And I have a real problem with mediums because they profit from the misery and the grief of grieving people. A lot of these people that go and pay a medium, they have unresolved conflicts with somebody in their life that has died, and they're in pain over it. They want some resolution, so they pay this charlatan to apparently talk to their dead relative. I don't believe they talk to anybody but their imaginary friends. But that's my take on it. Other people can disagree with me. Lord Ludicrous Plaid mentioning David Wilcock in the big Matrix news. Yes, apparently the entire Matrix movie was copied off of David Wilcock. Yes, the new one. They ripped him off, man. They stole everything in the new Matrix movie came from David Wilcock. According to him, Craig Williams says, heard about an unveiling tonight. Something about the freshest charged crystal skull has emerged from the Einstein chamber. We meet Carolyn Ford, the caretaker. Oh, geez, God, what a bunch of nonsense. Off-World Adams says, I've quit cold turkey twice before. Stress is high at the moment. I really don't like smoking. I'm a junkie. Yeah, it's a terrible habit. I'm trying to quit in favor of these vapes, but I just can't get used to this vape thing. It just doesn't, it's not doing it for me. I don't know if the vape is not high enough in nicotine. I'm going to get a new vape that's going to be the highest nicotine level that I could get. Maybe that'll do it for me, because I vaped for 1.5 years before, quit smoking and just vaped. But I'm having trouble getting started on the vaping again. What I really have to do is commit to not smoke in the house anymore. Because when I switched to vaping before, that's what I did. I could vape in the house, but I couldn't smoke in the house. So eventually that got me to just vape, because I'm just sitting there in front of the computer or whatever. Yeah, No more bets, please. Says vaping rocks. You have to push through and get used to it. Yeah, I mean, I did once, and I just can't do it now. I got to get no more bets, please. I have to get a good refillable vape with some really good juice. Chris Johansson says get 20 milligram juice. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to look into getting a higher nicotine vape because I think that's the problem. It's just too low. So I could vape on that thing for 10 minutes and I still want a cigarette or feel like I still want a cigarette. Yeah, I don't know what this guy's talking about. Dr. Numbnuts. What a great user ID, Dr. Numbnuts. Truth seekers, get the highest, wear it patches well for a week. It was easy for me. Good idea, that girl, Jessica. I'm going to do it. It's on my list. I have to. I just have to do it. I have to get over this, you know. And on other health issues, I was drinking way too much. So these last couple of weeks, I really tried to cut down, and I think that I did. I survived this week on 12 beers, I think, which is sure beats 40 or a 30 pack and a 12 pack, maybe, you know, just this health stuff and, you know, being stuck at home a lot in winter time. So I'm just sitting at home. Yeah, I'm trying a lot of harm reduction, right? So try to quit smoking in favor of vaping, try to cut down or substantially reduce my alcohol intake as well. I feel a lot better this week and last week having done that. It's just too much. You know, you can't drink 10 or 12 beers a day. It's not good for you. And then I'm gaining weight from it. So yeah. Spooky is mentioning the other reason why I did not go to the cabin, because I have yet ever to be caught or stuck at the cabin, but I'm always afraid that's going to happen because if a huge snowstorm rolls through while I'm at the cabin, I'm stuck for 2 days. They don't get to the roads. I won't be able to get out to the main road for at least a few days till it starts melting or yeah. So that's the other reason I'm not going to the cabin. Spooky says, careful driving on the East Coast this weekend. Big winter storm coming through. Yeah. Yeah, V, I think I was drinking a 12. At my height recently, V, I was drinking a 30 pack plus maybe a 12 pack or a 36 pack of Miller Lite in 1 week. And that is way too much, V. So, you know, this week I made it through the week with a 12 pack. I think that's much better than a 30 pack, right? Or a 42 pack, right? Getting stuck at the cabin sounds wonderful if prepared. Yeah, not when you got to get home so that you can take care of your kids on Monday, Pragmagic. So, yeah. I did. My car died there one time, but AAA came and it was a frozen fuel pump and he banged on it. It was like 0 out and the fuel pump froze. The car wouldn't start. So a guy came from AAA with a tow truck and he just went. I have no idea. I'm not a car guy. I didn't know why it wouldn't start. He said, yeah, it's probably the fuel pump's stuck. He said, keep cranking it. I'm going to go under here and bang on it. And that's what he did. He just crawled under the car and banged on the fuel pump while I cranked it and it started right up. I was able to get the hell out of there. I've never been so happy to hear a car start because I was worried that I wasn't going to get home, you know, 2 hours from home. And a car that won't start in the middle of a snowstorm, it was in the middle of a big snowstorm. And I was like, please God, let this car start so I can get out of here while I can still get out of here. You know, we don't have 4-wheel drive. So I have traction control, which does about nothing. You really need 4-wheel drive, right? Archaic Revival mentioning, I don't know when to say when. I take everything to extremes. I'm always told too much is never enough. Cold turkey is all that works for me. Yeah, but, you know, I guess, you know, I have a very wise, sober friend who says harm reduction is a good thing, Stephen, but you can't train a dragon. And I said, what? And he said, yeah, it's a dragon. You think you're going to train a dragon or control a dragon. You're not going to. It's a dragon. And by its very nature, it's beyond control. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm trying the harm reduction thing right now before I try something more drastic. but I have in the past quit for I don't know, a year and a half. I quit drinking alcohol totally. I went to AA and everything. So, you know, we all have our struggles, I guess. Mine is I like this thing. So can I keep it in my life without it becoming really a destructive part of my life, right? Yeah, how do you not have all-wheel drive in the ice and snow? My wife has all-wheel drive. I have traction control, but neither of us has a car with four-wheel drive. And V, when I went to look for my last car, I tried like hell to find a car with four-wheel drive, a Subaru or something with four-wheel drive, or an old Jeep, and we couldn't find anything with four-wheel drive that was in decent shape. They were all beaters. So I opted for a car with traction control, and that turned out to be a mistake. You know, that doesn't do anything really. Pragmatic says everything in moderation, including moderation. Neil Young. Yeah, sometimes you gotta just cut it loose, right? Pragmatic. Just, yeah. James Pepper says, do it with a doctor. Get the B vitamins if you go cold turkey. Yeah, I don't know. I went 3 days recently with no alcohol. So I don't think that I have physical withdrawal symptoms. I think it's all psychological with me and like boredom. Like, well, I'm not doing anything. What am I doing tonight? Let's listen to some music and drink, or, you know, let's play some games and drink, or it just, you know, becomes sort of something that you do when you don't have anything else going on. I do notice this, that the more I work, the less I drink because I just have less time, you know, or I have things that I got to do for work the next day. So I drink less. You know, V says, I would never live or visit a climate without any way to get out. How scary to sleep and not have any way to leave if need be. No, most of the time I'm fine, V. But it makes me worry when it snows. So if they predict that there's going to be a big snowstorm, I don't go that weekend because I don't want to get stuck. But I will say that I have a really close friend there, Matt, my neighbor, who, if necessary, he would hook a chain to my car with his big four-wheel drive truck and drag me to the main road. He wouldn't let me be stuck. So, you know, there's that, but you really don't want to, I really don't want to have him drag me to the front road, you know? It's a big hassle and everything. But I know he's a good enough friend that he wouldn't let me get stranded. He would try to get me to the main road. But, you know, yeah, then thanks, Cosmic Cute Toast. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's what happened with me too, that girl Jessica. I didn't start drinking because of COVID, but I certainly increased my intake, probably doubled my intake over COVID because I wasn't doing as much and I was stuck at home. And, you know, yeah, I should watch it too. You know, some of you guys know my mother died of bad alcoholism. So it's kind of stupid for me to drink at all. You know, hello, Mr. Numbnuts. We'll look after you. Great. Yeah, Gutter65 says more snow in your area. Yeah, possibly 6 to 8 inches we're supposed to get. Great. No more bets, please. Says I'm so hungover right now. Yeah, that's one thing I didn't miss when I quit drinking completely, right? But I think I got it down now. It's like drink a 6-pack if you do drink. Don't drink a 12-pack, you know? And then the next day is not terrible. Jimmy M, that's what my mother died of. Well, she had sclerosis of the liver, and then she died of total liver failure after that progressed. So, Archaic Revival says, thought I'd share an Irish pub tale. My grandfather worked at a brewery. One shift, he fell into the massive vat of Guinness. His coworkers jumped in to try to save him, but he fought them off bravely. Yes, I've heard that joke before. Gutter65 says, I love beer. Yeah, and then We're Bet says, drinking and video games has become my main occupation. Thanks, COVID. Yeah. Blinking Liar says, we need to dismantle the still. Yeah, and Jimmy M tell me to smoke instead. All these things are on the rise. Says, my closest neighbor is a mile away. They have a rental house that's empty close to me. It's quiet where I am. Sounds like my kind of place on the rise. My kind of place. Yeah. So listen, I want to thank our great guest tonight, Manny from Area 503, and especially thank him for giving us the exclusive first peek at this new documentary, Who's Lue? I want to thank each and every one of you guys for joining us here tonight. You always hear me say this, always happy when there's an audience. Thank you so much for coming here tonight and being a part of mine. It's been kind of a tough week. You know, we ventured out into other subjects and we kind of took a hit on the numbers, but I'm okay with that because I think in the long term, it's important to not just cover certain, you know, we want to be more broad in our coverage here. I don't want to be stuck talking about UFOs every night. So we're trying other subjects. We're trying other, you know, things that really aren't in my wheelhouse, but kind of are, or interests of mine. And I hope we've got a lot of great positive feedback, but it seems like there are certain subjects that will get a lot more live viewers and a lot more views, and other subjects, not so many people want to tune in to. And we're still figuring out that balance here. Unknown Sender says, great quality guest, quality host, good show. Well, thank you for your kindness. Yes, and On the Rise, reminding everybody, everyone drop a like before you leave. It's free. Thanks for joining us tonight. Yeah, thanks for everybody who joined us tonight. Always happy when there's an audience. Today we had amazing numbers, especially compared to the last couple of nights, veering off into other subjects, I guess. So next week we've got some really great stories for you and another exclusive. Oh, we have got a great exclusive story coming for you next week. Can't wait to bring it to you. But for right now, I will say it's been a rough week. It's Friday night, and it's quitting time, friends. So I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. Quitting time for the week, right? I will be back Monday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks to our incredible guests. Thanks to our incredible audience. And thanks for our chat room moderators. And thanks to Spooky, always helping with the show. So I'm out of here. It's quitting time, friends. I'm punching the clock, and I'm done until Monday at 7 p.m. Until next time, friends, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.